In Germany, the British naval blockade, it has to be said that the British did this very well. They managed to seal off Germany from a lot of natural resources and trade from the world oceans. In the autumn of 1918, you had more or less starvation in parts of Germany, and you had this general demoralization in which the civilian population was no longer willing to suffer for the cause of the war effort. There was also socialist revolution or communist revolution brewing, both among the civilians and among parts of the military forces. And in the end, it all crumbled, and Kaiser Wilhelm II was forced to resign, abdicate, and to leave. In connection with this, things started unfolding more and more quickly. The Poles were slightly surprised by the speed of events. You had on November 1st, you had a rebellion breaking out among the Ukrainians in Galicia. They took control of several cities or tried to besiege them. The Poles considered some of them as obvious Polish lands. The cities of Przemyśl or Lviv were among them. So the Poles very quickly started mobilizing for fighting against the Ukrainians in that part of the country. In the West, the Poles had their own issues with the Germans. They saw that the German Empire was crumbling, but exactly where the border with future Poland would go was not known at the time. In the northeast, you had the Lithuanians that had their aspirations. They wanted control of the city of Vilna or Vilnius, which they considered to be their ancient capital city. It had been thoroughly Polonized over the centuries, and there were practically no Lithuanians living within the city of Vilnius itself, or even in the region around it. It was practically a large Polish majority, and still a quite large Jewish minority, but ethnic Lithuanians in that region were very few and far between. And then naturally the elephant in the room, I guess you could say, relations with a Soviet Russia. Technically they weren't Soviet yet, it was Bolshevik Russia, but that was where things were heading in. In the east at that time you still had German troops. It was those lands, today we would know them as Ukraine or Belarus. At that time they were in the hands of the German army that had this military administration over there. However, soon they started retreating from there, and from both sides, you could say, Polish military forces and Bolshevik Red Army Russian military forces started moving in from their own direction. It was certain that sooner or later they would clash and that there would be some form of fight for the borders. It was in this environment that Piłsudski returned to Poland. He arrived by train after having been released from Magdeburg. The Polish Regency Council had applied, you could say, to the Germans. They had asked them to release him. The Germans felt that there was no longer any sense in keeping him imprisoned. It would be better if he could go back to Poland and take the reins. There had been a socialist government formed on November 7th by Ignacy Daszyński. They, at that moment, were the ones that claimed that they had authority in the country. But in reality, there were various regional centers that had taken power in their own hands, so to say, and there was no unified. There was the Regency Council that technically was in authority, in power, but still, it wasn't something that was tangible. It wasn't something that was fully legitimate.
Adam, The clock in the corner of the studio is blinking at me, so I'm afraid we must bring this programme to an end. Thank you. We'll pick it up next time. There we are. I've had to interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not. If you join us next time, as we hope you will, we'll continue the story. In the meantime, thank you for watching Poland Daily History.